Hi, this is the first of several short video lessons to go along with the map components lesson of charts and graphs, our charts and graphs class. You should have been able to go into the assignment for understanding map components and look at the handouts that I put there about the video about longitude and latitude and the handouts about the components commonly found on maps and about the regions of the United States. Okay, so make sure to look at those too. But what I want to do is I want to look at, in the handout, find page 6, the first of the 4 handouts about understanding map components. So let's take a look at that. Okay, we've got, let's remember what the common components are that we find on maps. We find a title, we can find a compass rose, we can find a scale of miles, and a map key, also called a legend. So let's take a look at the map that we're looking at here. It has a title. It says the 13 colonies. Okay, now remember we've been practicing in our charts and graphs class the concept of when we're taking the social studies test, also science and the other tests too, but particularly on the social studies test, one of the main things we want to be able to do is keep our confidence high. So we don't want to feel dismayed if we see a question or a graphic that refers to something and we are not really entirely sure what it means. We want to go ahead and look at the questions, because very often, most often, more often than not, we can answer questions on particularly the social studies, GED or HiSET, even if we don't have all of the background knowledge that we need, even if we don't have all of the content knowledge that we need. So let's not worry for a moment what it means, the colonies or the 13 colonies, if we're not sure. Let's just take a look at the components that we generally find on a map. You see, there's the title. We also have a compass rose. Find the compass rose. You can see box A, the A, points out the compass rose. And remember, that shows us the directions. In this case, the compass rose is straight up and down. Sometimes the compass rose can be slightly tilted because remember, the Earth is not flat, it's a globe. So if we're looking at a small enough map, I mean a big enough map, the compass rose is actually north, is going to be pointing towards the North Pole, which is that way, not this way, that way, right? On a round globe. Here's the United States. North is that way towards the North Pole. Okay, but in this case, it's a small enough map that the compass rose is directly up and down. North is on the top, south is on the bottom. We also see at the bottom the scale of miles. See in the bottom right-hand corner. And that shows us that a distance of about, that long represents 400 miles on this map. Okay, and then we have the map key, or the legend. And you can see it's labeled with a B there. And on this map, these symbols, or these colors, or these shadings, show us different things. This particular shading, the dark shading, shows us the 13 colonies. Then we have a different kind of shading for conflicting claims, where colonies were sort of fighting with another or arguing with one another about a part of land, whether it belonged to one colony or another. And the same thing for disputed land. So I'm not really sure why there's a difference here between disputed land and conflicting claims. They sound sort of the same to me. Okay, so let's take a look with no further knowledge than that. Let's take a look at the questions and see what we can see. See if we can answer the questions without knowing any more content than we already know. So question number 1 says, which of the following statements best describes the area of the Indian Reserve. So you see on the map, the Indian Reserve is to the to the west, right? And the colonies themselves are to the east along the coast. So, is this true about the Indian Reserve? It's concentrated in the north. Well, it goes all the way from the north all the way to the southern part of this area that we're looking at. So that's not the case. B, it's between the 13 colonies and the Mississippi River. Well, we can see on the map the Mississippi River is over to the west of the Indian Reserve, and the 13 colonies are to the east of the Indian Reserve. So that's true. It is between the colonies and the Mississippi River, so that's possible. C, it includes the areas of West Florida and East Florida. So on this map, the Indian Reserve is separate from the portions that are listed as West Florida and East Florida. Okay, so the Indian Reserve is separate. It's not part of those. So it's not included in those areas. And D, it's near several large settlements. Well, if we look at our map key, we see that the dot indicates large settlements. And the large settlements are all along the very edge, the coastal edge of the 13 colonies. They're not further inland, nearer to the Indian Reserve. So that wouldn't work. So with this question, even if we don't understand necessarily about what's a colony, what's the Indian Reserve, if we're not sure, we can still answer this question. The most likely answer is B. The best answer is B. Just by reading the map, we can answer the question. Even if we don't understand, like when this is or where this is, just reading the map, we can answer the question. Okay, and number 2, which of the following statements is accurate? Large settlements stretched from the northern to the southern colonies. All right, so we see all the different colonies here, and there are large settlements in all of them. So that is the case. That's a possible answer. B, North Carolina had just one large settlement. So in North Carolina, there are actually more than one dot, right? So that's not the case. Large settlements were located in, does North Carolina, I can't really see on my map. Anyway, B is not the answer. C, large settlements were located in colonies with disputed land. So, if we look at the colonies that have the cross-hatching, as on the key, the disputed colonies, there are no dots in those colonies. So that's not the case. And there were no large settlements in the South. Well, South Carolina and North Carolina, Georgia and South Carolina are towards the south, and there's a large settlement in Georgia there, Charleston. So that one can't be the right answer. So the only possible answer here is A. Again, we can answer this question just by looking at the map without necessarily understanding what the colonies are, when they were, what the Indian Reserve is, any of that stuff. So even if we haven't studied that stuff in a class, in a social studies class, we could still answer these questions just by being able to read the map. Okay, I'm going to sign off here and start another video for the next page. Thanks.